My name is Olatunji Shoti Miri. I'm a performing artist and, television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching Sook News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching Sook News. If you're not watching Sook News, I pity you, but keep watching Sook News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timmy Dakolo, and you're watching Sook News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko, co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at Sook News. Guys, keep watching Sook News for everything that concerns business, economy, politics, news. Sook News is your station.
Hello and welcome to Market Insight. Yes, your one-stop show for anything business currently, and we talk about commodity market as well as the currency market, giving you the necessary information you need about your market space. I'm your host Adesoa Iramoseli, and today we'll be discussing something very, very key in our, in Nigeria today, talking about our Nigerian economy, and we'll be discussing the impact of the high cost of pharmaceutical drugs on the Nigerian economy, in fact, on the Nigerian people generally. This is one very serious issue because health is wealth. So if you are, if you are in a situation whereby you are sick and then you can't get affordable medication, there is a big problem. Now in Nigeria, falling sick, of course, is supposed to be normal, but currently seeking treatment is like a double blow, as regards to the financial implication. And this has become, increasingly unbearable for many Nigerians. The cost of basic pharmaceutical drugs, such as antibiotics, analgesics, anti-diabetics, and, key medications for chronic conditions, has doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled in some areas, leaving many patients struggling to access the health care they desperately need. Now, the alarming rise in drug prices, its impact on healthcare access and the urgent need for solution is critical to ensure that falling sick does not become, a financial death sentence. Among factors contributing to the increase in drug prices, are the rising production costs, delays in global supply chain, and local supply challenges, as well as the declining value of the naira. A silent rage of people grappling with undiagnosed and inadequately managed chronic diseases such as cancer, is also underway, as chemotherapy drugs have seen a 300% price increase in recent times, pushing them beyond the reach of patients. Now, this is just giving you almost like an understanding to the current situation in Nigeria, because we have so many people, having different medical challenges such as hypertension, diabetes, asthma, ulcer, cancer, and so many other medical issues, and they can't have access to affordable medicine because the prices are extremely high. Some are even over 300% higher than they used to be, and this is a very big problem. So we even have people, moving away from orthodox medicine and just focusing on traditional medicine. And this is indeed a challenge. And we have a guest who is joining us virtually. She is Dr. Temitokpe Ayedun, and he's a general practitioner based in the United Kingdom. Good morning to you, Dr. Temitokpe.
Good morning.
To Market Insight. I'm sure you listened to all I read out concerning the affordability of drugs currently, of pharmaceutical drugs currently in Nigeria. What is the implication of this challenge?
The implication of this challenge is that so many people will not be able to get their medication because they just cannot afford it. And that is a huge problem. The implication is that some people's chronic conditions can get worse, and some people can unfortunately even die from lack of their medication. So it is a huge challenge. It is a huge blow to the workforce in the country. It's a huge blow to the Nigerian population at large if we cannot get basic medication or even specialist medication at all. So that is the implication, and it's something that we really ought to be taking seriously at every point in time, because the health of our population is important. Every Nigerian is important.
Do you think this exorbitant prices of drugs would lead more people, to simply abandon orthodox medication and then, go the way of traditional medicine? And do you think that is advisable? And if more people go this way, what would be the overall implication of it?
I think, unfortunately, some people have already been pushed in that direction just because they cannot afford the cost of their medication. And they've decided that instead of taking nothing, they will take whatever is available. Now, the problem with taking some of these herbal medications is that some of them, and most of them, are not regulated. We don't know what is inside them. We don't know their quantities. We don't know their side effects. We don't know their pharmacodynamics and pharmacological properties. So that is the problem with, and unfortunately, some people even decide to combine both their orthodox and traditional medicine, which can even have more side effects on their system. So it is a problem, but some people have been pushed in that direction just because they cannot afford their medication.
Okay, so let's go back. What exactly would you highlight as the major cause of this, of this hike in price of pharmaceutical drugs?
Some of these things you have already highlighted in your introductory statement, which was brilliant. And that is that the price of the dollar, the forex, that it's the instability in the system, the fact that small and medium enterprises are not encouraged in the country, the fact that this political terrain in the country is not really stable. That has impacted on the hike in the medication. Because when the price of of medication is so high, and getting to the end consumers, it will also be high as well. And so those are some of the factors that have implicated on these medications, because the producers are also getting it at a high cost. And generally, medications are expensive. They're expensive to process. Even to produce medications are expensive. So unless there is some form of regulation by the government, they would keep on increasing and increasing. In fact, I have family members that are managing concerns, and the prices have been so exorbitant. They have gone up exponentially, so many 100%. And it's just, when you see someone that is earning 100,000 and has to pay 70,000 for medication, how much is left when the minimum wage in the country is about 30,000? So it's a huge burden, and it's impacting on a lot of people, I must say.
Okay, now from your perspective, what would you say about international bodies coming to the aid of Nigerians? Because we have so many Nigerians complaining, especially those of them with very serious medical conditions like hypertension, cancer even, and these people are coming out to say we need help. What can the international bodies do to support Nigerians in this time?
Well, I think the international bodies, they can help, on a humanitarian basis, by providing these very specialized medications at a subsidized cost. And I know that, for instance, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation provide HIV medication at a subsidized rate to people. But more importantly, it's the fact that our government has to take responsibility for the health of their own people. The charity begins at home. It's so important that they start from home to take responsibility and then ask for help, not expecting handouts from other countries who are also grappling with their health challenges. We can learn from other countries how they have been managing their medication. For instance, Turkey is the country that has the lowest cost of medication. How did they do it? It's their government that is paying for their medication to get it subsidized. Countries like the US, even though they are one of the highest producer of medications and highest number of pharmaceuticals in the world, they still have high cost of medication. Countries like India have low amounts of cost of their medication because they are a world major producer of generic drugs. So there are things we can learn from other countries instead of expecting handouts. But of course, at the stage we are in, anything is welcome. And it will be really great if we could have some help from the outside, I must say.
All right. Thank God you mentioned the fact that other countries are, able to overcome this kind of situations. You are a practitioner in the UK. What measures, has the UK taken in time past to ensure that there is the affordability and availability of medication generally in UK, and how can Nigerians adopt that same policy or measure back here so we can also have the same, we can also enjoy the same benefits?
Okay. Now, in the UK, they have a centralized health system. The centralized health system helps with regulating the medication because from source, they make sure that they negotiate for the lowest prices possible. And to the end user, the medications do not cost very much. So each prescription goes for about £9.50. And that is for everybody, no matter how expensive the medication is. If you come with a prescription, it will go for £9.50. And they've even gone further to say that if you pay for 3 months, you can pay a lower amount. If you are paying in bulk, if you're paying for 12 months, you can pay a lower amount. These are incentives from the government. And as I said, they have a centralized health system, which we do not have in Nigeria at the time. I can give an example of Germany, for instance, where their health insurance gets subsidies from the pharmaceutical companies to take their medication. So those are things that can also be done in alliance with the pharmaceutical companies so that the pharmaceutical companies, once their medication in the outside space, they negotiate with the government makes sure that they have the lowest prices possible, and then they keep it at that rate. In France, for instance, they made sure that after they negotiate the prices do not go up. And so that is why the prices are lower in France at this time. So each country has their specific ways of cutting down on the cost for their citizens, but it has to be a collective effort. Of course, there's a need for public and private partnership. That is not happening in the UK right now, but it's because of the centralized health system that is working that we have low cost of medication in the UK.
Do you also believe that most of these healthcare challenges we are currently facing in Nigeria can be linked in some way to the Japa syndrome, because we have most of our medical practitioners leaving the country? Do you think that is one of the reasons why we have these challenges? And what can the government do in Nigeria here to ensure that the environment is better for medical practitioners to thrive?
Thank you for that question. I think it is a huge menace that we have not yet even fully gotten the dimensions of how many people have left and how many people are still living on a daily basis. Affecting medication in particular, I don't think the Japa syndrome has affected it because we have both internal and external factors affecting the pharmaceuticals in Nigeria. But concerning that question, the government has to do more to encourage the medical practice to thrive in Nigeria. We have to incentivize them by giving them access to research, by giving them better pay, by increasing their standard of living in Nigeria. Because by the time you compare how they live in Nigeria and the way they live outside the country, the difference is humongous. The system is better, the system works. So first of all, we need a health system that works. So if we don't have a health system that works, most people will not want to stay. If we don't have a health system that is funded, most people will not want to stay. If we don't have a health system in which health practitioners are appreciated and not overworked, most people will not want to stay. One will be surprised that people are coming to the United Kingdom where there are already many doctors and they keep saying that they still need more. That is because they have considered that their citizens are important and that the health of their citizens are important. We need to prioritize health in Nigeria. We need to prioritize the health of our citizens. And when we do that, then we are going to treat our health professionals better across board, both doctors and nurses and other allied health professionals, because they are all members of the team and they are all important.
Very well, very well. Now, what would you advise the medical practitioners here in Nigeria to do? Okay, this is a challenge we are faced with already, the hike in price of pharmaceutical drugs. What can they do differently to, somewhat, cope with this situation to ensure that people just don't keep dying because they can't afford medication?
I think that is a bit of a tough question. However, there are some things that can be done. One of them is that there can be private-public partnerships in which pharmaceuticals directly liaise with hospitals in which their medications are used. For instance, if there's a cancer center and we have people that are supplying chemotherapy, there is some agreement between them and those special centers in which the drugs are brought in at a subsidized rate and they are capped so that they do not exceed that rate for the patients, and the cap prevents it from going up while treatment is going on. So those are things that can be done in-house. The other thing that is very important is the fact of preventive medicine. We need to preach that a bit more. So if people do not get sick, they will not end up needing medication. So we need to all take responsibility for our health and take our health seriously. So that is very important. We need to preach health to the populace on a general basis, on the TV, on the radio. We need to let people know that they need to take their health seriously. They need to go for their blood pressure checks, their blood sugar checks, especially if they have a family history. They need to reduce stress. They need to reduce salt. We need to let them know that there are things that they can do to prevent falling ill. They need to keep the mosquitoes away, keep their environment clean. So all of this falls under the remit of public health, and every physician needs to be a public health physician these days. It's very important, especially in Nigeria where we lack a lot of medical personnel because most of them have left. So this is very important that we need to keep doing this. But from the hospital's point of view, we can have partnerships going on. But it would have been easier if there was a centralized system in the healthcare system.
Okay, a centralized system, you say. What are the practical steps? Because all of this can just be theoretical, saying all of this, but what are the practical steps, to actually bring all of this about? And one of the major reasons why we have this hike in price of pharmaceuticals, aside the inflation and everything, of course, inflation is affecting every commodity as we speak in Nigeria today. But one of the reasons is the fact that some of these pharmaceuticals are leaving, they are exiting the nation, and of course, the price of importation and all of that, contribute to this hike in price. What can we do better? What can the government do to get more pharmaceutical companies to come establish here in Nigeria?
Well, I'm not surprised some pharmaceuticals are leaving because lots of companies have left because of running costs that are excessive, and that they cannot cope with, because as I said, producing medication is a bit of a risk. You have to have the discovery of the medication, you have to have the clinical trials, sometimes they are failed drugs. All of those things cost money and resources, And so if you are trying to put all of those resources into producing your medication, and then you are in a country in which there is no power, there is no security, then there's a lot more at risk than just your medication. So those are some of the things that the government can do. The government can improve the security in the system. The government can create policies in which small and medium-term loans can be given to pharmaceutical companies so that they can start off and start producing medication. The government can encourage research in the drug research institutes. I'm sure we have drug research institutes in Nigeria. We need to encourage research so that indigenous medications are developed and we can treat our people with what we have on ground and not rely on everything that we have from the outside. And even if we want to have the kind of medication from the outside, we can produce our own generic ones, just the way they produce in India. And that will subsequently bring down the cost. But the government needs to give tax incentives, tax incentives to small and medium enterprises so that they can come into the country and so that the ones in the country can decide they want to go into pharmaceutical and it will thrive. Also improve security, deal with the rising rate of inflation. And those are some of the things that can be done.
All right, very well. In Nigeria today, we see so many pharmacists. People graduate from the pharmaceutical departments and the university every now and then, and all they do is basically set up pharmaceutical stores to sell drugs. What can be done about this? Because if you studied pharmacy, you should be able to bring about your own kind of medication or something, like, you know, to actually have companies that actually make drugs here in Nigeria, not just sell them. What can be done differently in the pharmaceutical space to ensure that we have more active pharmacists producing drugs so that we don't have to always import?
One of the things that can be suggested is that they come together and conglomerate so that they have more resources to pull together and then set up a pharmaceutical company together. As I said earlier, it is expensive to set up a pharmaceutical industry, and it comes with its own risk, especially when you are doing clinical trials and you're discovering what the properties of the medication are and all of those kind of things. So like most people will do, you will take the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance is to sell drugs that have already been produced, that have already been tested. And so just to bring it to the consumers, which is fine and well, and there would always be people that would do that. But of course, if we want to encourage them to produce medication, we need to give them incentives. We need to have some tax reforms for them. We need to be able to encourage them to be able to get loans that they can pay off over a long time to set up industry. We need to have regulations in place that would support them. We need to have policies, even from the level of the Senate and the House of Assembly, that will support our indigenous pharmacists to produce their own medication. So those are some of the things we can do to encourage them to do that, to set up industry.
Okay, that would be very beautiful to see if we had, you know, companies really making drugs here in Nigeria. Now, in your own experience as a medical practitioner, you know, you actually said a bit about the traditional medicine, but people who actually go this way, you know, of course, we know that going the way of traditional medicine, there are pros and cons, you know, there are some kind of course, they are not easily measured, and so but there are some people who actually go for it and still, you know, get better. You know, wouldn't that be better than just sitting back and not doing anything medically, especially when you have a very severe medical challenge?
Well, it is debatable because some things are mild. You could have things like medication that can treat eczema. You boil some leaf, you can treat eczema. You boil something, you can treat malaria and things like that. But for other illnesses that are very serious, sometimes you can make them worse when you just combine different kinds of leaves together and you don't even know which leaves you're combining. All is from hearsay. So even though it has given some people some benefits, some respites, which is better than nothing at all. It is a risk, and sometimes the risk comes with side effects, comes with complications that the medical practice now ends up trying to manage the complications of. And so some medications, people take them, they lead to heart failure, they lead to kidney failure because their body is not able to break down the different things that are concocted together. So I'm not against it, but it needs to be regulated. We need to be able to know what quantities that we are mixing together. Herbal medicine is a real trade. And so I am not against it, but it needs to be better regulated so that we know exactly what we are doing. We are not just mixing leaves together. So if it's regulated and we have special people that have already been trained in that aspect, then it's welcome. We can even liaise with them and take insights from them, and they take insights from us. It's all about everybody knowing their limits and knowing what they can do and what they cannot do.
All right.
So there's nothing wrong in trying it, but there are risks, and everybody needs to be aware of the risks before they go in that direction.
Very well, doctor. Now, someone said this is the worst time to fall sick in Nigeria. Now, let us talk about prevention. You know, prevention is better than cure. What can the government do or medical practitioners do to actually enlighten people on preventive measures so that you don't get sick and start looking for how to, you know, and going for all this very expensive medication? Why not just prevent it? What can be done to ensure that people prevent this outcome of sicknesses, you know, by all of this very, very severe sicknesses like hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, and all of that? What can be done to sensitize the people to ensure that this kind of illnesses are prevented?
Okay, so what can be done is health promotion, and health promotion involves talking to people about their health in different settings, whether in a local setting or via public settings, via the media, via any setting. It's very important that we're able to talk to people and let them know that these are the things they can do that is going to help them stay well. Some people would unfortunately still develop these chronic illnesses because some of them have risk factors. They have family factors that are preventing it. But apart from genetics, there are so many other ways we can prevent illness. We can stop excessive alcohol. We can stop smoking. We can reduce our weight. We can reduce salt. We can reduce stress. There's a lot of stress in the system, unfortunately. So those are things that we can do. We can eat a healthier diet. We can sleep better. So these are things that we can do. We can reduce noise pollution in the environment. We can reduce deaths in the environment and different kinds of vermin in the environment. So these are things that we can do to prevent illness. And these are things that should be publicized, that should be shouted from the market squares instead of people shouting in the market squares about how to increase libido. And that's the kind of thing you will hear in the market squares. We need to publish health promotion better and how to prevent illnesses.
Very well, doctor. Now, still about prevention, you know, what hacks? Because I know not every illness requires orthodox medicine, or, you know, for you to take drugs. There are some things you can just do and you get better. For instance, sometimes when I have very severe headache, I can take a lot of water and I just rest, and after a while I'm as good as new. So how can people know how to go about these things instead of depending, you know, always on orthodox medicine? Are there measures they can put in place and get better in due time without having to consult the pharmaceuticals?
Yes. Now, there are different people that can help in this regard. So sometimes there are basic things, like if you have pain, you would expect that, okay, take a paracetamol and you expect the pain to go. If the pain doesn't go, then you should be a bit more suspicious on what is causing the pain. If you have malaria, you know the symptoms, you can take malaria. You don't have to consult your doctor necessarily for that. But if the symptoms do not go, you need to consult your doctor. So those are some of the things that you can do. Drinking water for a headache does not work all the time because there are different types of headaches. But if you have a headache that comes with red flags, meaning like your worst headache ever, you're having a headache and vomiting, you're having a headache and having neck stiffness, having a headache and having a fever. So those are some of the more serious headaches. But of course, there are other people that just have what is called a migraine. They know the symptoms. They know that they need to stop eating a particular kind of food and the headache will go away. They need to stay in a dark room and the headache will go away. So there are different kinds of headaches for that, for instance. But some people just have a simple tension headache that is brought on by stress. And when they sleep and they get rehydrated, they feel better. So there are different things for different, I think in the time that we have the internet, we need to read more. We need to be more informed about our health. We need to be more informed because we all have to take responsibility for our health. That's very important. But I think we still need doctors and we still need pharmacists. Some things you can ask your pharmacist because they're also informed about how to treat minor illnesses, but it's good that we all know our limits. And when you need to see your doctor, you need to see your doctor.
Okay. Now, what role would you say technology, of course, we are in a technological age, what role can technological innovations, play in, mediating this inflation crisis as we have it in Nigeria today?
I don't think technology is going to do much to mediate the inflation crisis. I think the inflation crisis comes from the removal of subsidies and all of those other things and the prices of things in the markets. I don't think AI or technology is going to do very much in that regard, unfortunately. But of course, technology plays a huge part in production of medicines and in the healthcare industry. And there are a lot of technological advances that have made things better and easier for both patients and health personnel across the years, and they're still getting better.
Okay, so now from your medical perspective, for someone who has asthma, for instance, who cannot afford to buy his drugs, or someone who has diabetes, who can't afford insulin, what would you advise the person to do currently, practically speaking now?
That's very difficult. That's very difficult to say. I would have to tell them to pull resources together to create funding to pay for their medication. The person that has asthma, for instance, can avoid the triggers for the asthma because asthma can have triggers. However, not all triggers can be avoided, like weather. But some people have exercise-induced asthma, for instance, so they might decide that they wouldn't exercise. Some people have, if it's triggered by the weather, you can't avoid the weather. But some are triggered by dust and other allergens, so they can do their best to avoid those allergens. It will be about avoidance. But in the case of having an asthmatic attack, they would need treatment immediately. And this is the area in which it might be a good thing to have some form of health insurance that can cover for basic things. So if one has health insurance like they have in the US and in some other countries that covers medication, then medication comes at a very cheap rate to the end user. So that would be insurance that covers their medication.
Yeah, of course, that is a very laudable advice. Get insurance on your health so that at least when you are down, you can have the insurance company cover the cost of your medication. All right, thank you so very much to you, Dr. Temitope Ayedu, for your time on Market Insights this morning.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Temitokpe Ayedun is also the founder and convener of the Link Family and the Find series. And she's also the author of the inspirational book titled The Yam Porridge Stories. You can find her on YouTube at Temitokpe Praising Child. On that note, we call it a wrap on the markets segment. That's the commodity market segment. When we return from this break, we'll be going straight into the currency market. Stay with us, please.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked to CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the Outer Marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. Souk Enlightenment.
Dr. Agility Obi.
My name is Etemere Glover.
Naomi.
Well done, and shout out to Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souk News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souk News.
Keep watching Souk News.
Keep watching Souk News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souk News for your news requirements.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Mase Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square. Souk Enlightenment.
name is Dr. Agility Obi.
My name is Etemere Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souk News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souk News.
Keep watching Souk News.
Keep watching Souk News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souk News for your news requirement.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market Insight, and now we're moving straight into the currency market, talking about the official market as well as the parallel market, which is the black market. So yesterday, being the 23rd of January 2024, the US dollar was buying at 899 naira and selling at 900 naira. While the pounds was buying at 1,140 naira and selling at 1,141 naira. The euros was buying at 976 naira and selling at 1,141 naira. And all of this is at the official market as released by the CBN yesterday. Today, in the parallel market today, we see that the USD, that's the US dollar, is buying at 1,360 naira and selling at 1,365 naira, while the pounds is buying at 1,710 naira and selling at 1,725 naira. The euros also is buying at 1,445 naira and selling at 1,460 naira. So we can see from this report in the parallel market that the USD, has increased a little bit. It used to be, yesterday it was about 1,350 naira, and today it is buying at 1,360. So that's like a 10 naira difference. But the pounds as well as the euros have not really increased from the last time it was viewed. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We will be talking a little bit because on Forbes during this this past few days, there was a report by Forbes. Forbes released the top 10 strongest currencies in the world. Yes, the top 10 currencies in the world. Now, while the US dollar is widely acknowledged as the most influential currency globally, and also holds dominant positions in the international trade, it might be surprising to learn that among the over 180 recognized traditional currencies considered legal tenders worldwide, the greenback does not rank as the strongest. Yes, the US dollar is not the strongest currency in the world. That's according to Forbes. Now, the strongest currency, the top 10 strongest currencies include Kuwait dinar, which is about 3.25 US dollars. So one Kuwait dollar, is equal to 3.25 US dollars. And we also have the Bahraini dinar, which is equivalent to 2.65 US dollar. We also have the Omani Rial, which is approximately 2.60 US dollar. Then the Jordanian dinar goes for 1.41 US dollars. The British pounds, ranked 5th, is approximately 1.27 US dollars. And the Gibraltar pound is 1.27 US dollars. The Cayman Island dollar is 1.20 US dollars, while the Swiss franc, I beg your pardon, is 1.18 US dollars. The euros is 1.10 dollars, and then the 10th on this list is the US dollar. And that was quite interesting to note, and that was why I decided to share it on this show, so the worth of the US dollar compared to some other currencies in the world. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll wrap up the show. Stay with us.
The National Theatre, Igomu, built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of a legendary contemporary Nigerian artist, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged FESTAC 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by Techno Expert Stroll, a Bulgarian company mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theatre complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of large green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre. Souk Enlightenment.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market Insight, and this is more like the summary of the show because we were able to discuss about the commodity market, talking about the impact of the high cost of pharmaceutical drugs on the Nigerian economy, and we were able to have this conversation with Dr. Temitokpe Ayedu, and she really gave us a whole lot of insight into this topic and talking about how Nigerians can cope even in this dire situation of the hiking price of pharmaceutical drugs, you know. And one of the key things I would take out of that conversation is that prevention is better than cure. Before you fall sick, try to protect yourself to prevent sicknesses generally. Of course, we know definitely at some point you'll fall sick, but at least you'll be able to minimize the frequency at which you fall sick, because the prices of these drugs are really exorbitant, and you don't want to be in that situation whereby you can't afford medication. So please protect yourselves. We love you, and we want you alive and well. That's the size of the show. Market Insight makes a return tomorrow, same time, same station. I'm Adesua Iromoseli. See you again tomorrow.